All right, we're gonna bypass a little intro, and just go straight into things. Since we're a little bit behind, about 2 minutes, but no big deal. No big deal. Welcome to the first of hopefully many Stanley Cup playoff shows that we're gonna have here right on Variety Sports Network. If you're watching, thanks for tuning in, and we'll get things rocking and rolling. With me today is Brandon and Jared. What do you guys think of the playoffs so far?
It's
Chaos.
Yeah, chaos is a very good way of putting it, because the way that I thought some of these series would have started out already is a lot different than I think a lot of people expected. I would not have thought that Vegas and Winnipeg would be going into game 3 right now, tied 4-4 into overtime. And yeah, there's a lot of other games that are going on right now, not today, but throughout earlier this week that went a lot differently than what I thought.
Yeah. Jared?
Yeah, I mean, as somebody that feels like their team is underperforming, I feel like we're seeing that across the league and across the playoffs right now. I mean, you look at a team like Boston. Yeah, they got it done last night, but I mean, to get drubbed 6-3 at home against the second wild card team in Florida.
Yeah.
The one thing that I'm seeing right now in the NHL is there's so much parity in the league, right? I mean, nobody would have expected this Winnipeg Vegas series to be going the way it is.
Yeah.
The LA, the Edmonton series, that series is wild. I mean, really, it's just like I said earlier, it's chaos all over the place, and anybody can win on any given night, except for possibly the Devils. It seems like anybody can win any of these series right now.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Brandon.
Well, I mean, with New York, I mean, they've really sort of come out and surprised me a lot. I thought that, especially with how they came out at the end of the regular season, I figured that New Jersey was going to be kind of in the place that New York is in right now. I thought it was going to be 2-0 New Jersey instead of 2-0 New York, but they've had a lot of scoring for them. I mean, I'm wrong series that I'm thinking of, but I mean, everybody with New York's been coming together and really getting it done the last couple of games, and they've really surprised me.
They're one team that I don't necessarily know if it's a surprise to me that they're playing, that they're that they've played this well so far in the 2 games against New Jersey. So New Jersey's not bad. They just don't. I don't know if they're necessarily that experienced playoff team. You look at the Rangers, and you're looking at guys who have been there, Panarin, Tarasenko, Kane, whoever else is. There's so many Kreider. Is it Fox?
Yep, Fox.
Yeah.
Zibanejad.
I mean, they just seem like they're a team that's going to be very, very tough to beat. But I think Boston's if Boston gets there, they're gonna have a run for their money if it comes to the Eastern Conference Finals. Any team in the Eastern.
Yeah, I think that the problem with the NHL right now is there's such, and it is, yes, an East-West bias, but in the Eastern Conference, it is Goliath versus Goliath every single night. I mean,
oh God, yes.
With on the Western Conference, everybody kind of had an idea of, okay, this is what's going to happen, right? But in the Eastern Conference, I mean, any of these teams can win any of these series, and they're very physical. They're very fast paced, and it's insane. That's the problem with the Devils, in my opinion, is they have skill, they have speed, but they don't have the grit that the Rangers have. And I mean, I'm seeing it with my team, the Hurricanes, right? They have skill, they have speed. They lack some of that grit, they lack some of that scoring and getting to the tough areas, right? Yep. So that's the problem with the Devils. But the Rangers, I mean, they have one of the best power plays outside of Edmonton. I mean, in the league. And when you take penalties, you're gonna get screwed against them.
Yeah. So we're looking at so far, I mean, the word chaos has already been brought up, from both of you guys. We're looking at a lot of high scoring games too. So far, we're 2 games in for I think every series now. The game 3 starting tonight. You see Toronto and Tampa Bay both scoring 7 each, within game 1 and game 2. And so some of the other scores that have just been, you look at it, was it Minnesota and Dallas was 5-1 yesterday, it was yesterday. And looking at the game now, 4-4 in overtime. What's going on with the defense? Is there any defense?
Yeah, I mean, I'll hop in there. I mean, you look at the first 2 games in the Hurricanes Islanders series, right? And I'll talk about that first because I do.
Yeah.
If you watch that series, there is defense. Now there was a bunch of goals yesterday in almost garbage time, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, but that series, I mean, you had, what was it, 4-3 and then 2-1, or was it 3-2? I can't remember what game 2 was, but I mean,
4-3 overtime. Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of defense in that game. Those are 2 very defensive minded teams. We've seen scorings up across the league this year.
Yeah.
And I think that there's not many goalies out there right now that are like the 1A caliber. I mean, Vasilevsky is considered the best goalie in the league. And I mean, he went out and laid a goose egg the other night.
Yeah, he still gave up 7.
Yeah.
So
I think we're starting to see, I mean, these players are just so skilled. And I think there are some defensive breakdowns, but once again, it's also very early in the playoffs. I mean, these teams are run and gun right now, wide open. As the injuries pile up, as teams lock it down, I think we'll see that scoring number come down quite a bit.
Yeah, I agree. I think later as the playoffs, go on, and looking at, several of these teams, I'm sure several of these series are going to go 7 games. I don't imagine any of them not going at least 6. So we're looking at least, I mean, I would imagine every series going 6 or 7 games. So yeah, the wear and tear. So maybe later down on the line, we will see those 1-0, 2-1 kind of games later on in the series. Brandon, do you have any thoughts on defense? Pointed the wrong way. Still pointed the wrong way.
Yeah, I get where you're going with it, but I mean, kind of what you guys said, it with how everybody is kind of going right now and trying to figure out what everybody's style of play is. That's why everybody is scoring as much as they are. They're getting around people. They're getting through the defense. And they're just, I mean, teams on the East, they're getting goals as we've seen from this past week. And even teams on the West, on the Western Conference, I mean, the Colorado and Seattle series, that's been a pretty interesting series to watch so far as well. That's been seeing a lot of scoring, and I feel like there's what you and Jared have both said. Scoring is going to be like this probably a good portion of this playoffs. Maybe not the second round. I could see things maybe lightening up a little bit more towards like the finals and probably even the Stanley Cup final as well. But
yeah,
I mean, looking at the series of how they could possibly be going, I mean, the only series that I could probably see being taken probably before 7 games, I would probably say would be the New York and New Jersey. But hell, New Jersey could easily possibly turn it around just like that, just like we've seen some of these other teams turn around within a game. I mean, the Toronto and Lightning series is a very good indicator of that. I mean, the very first game, Toronto came out and let the Lightning score, what was it, 6 or 7 goals?
7.
And then game 2, it was pretty much a flip-flop. So it's going to be hard to tell. My prediction at the beginning of the playoffs even started, I said it was going to probably be New York, Boston, Minnesota, and Vegas. But I said Minnesota, but because I mean, with how the regular season goes and even how the playoffs go, you never know how things are going to go. And this year's playoffs is just a very clear indication of that.
Fair enough. I'm surprised to hear Minnesota's name thrown into, but then they do play, a very well-rounded game, from start to finish for the most part.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, I could definitely see it. I don't see Vegas getting there, to be honest.
No. I thought that at first, but with how they've been kind of starting out in the playoffs, I could see them making it out of Winnipeg possibly, but I don't know if they'll make it through either the Oilers or the Kings.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. So let's look at the Western Conference for a little bit. Every series, I think each series is tied 1-1. No, Minnesota is up 2-1.
Yep.
Now, which of those series? Let's start with the Avalanche and Kraken. It's the first time you've seen Seattle in the playoffs. We get to see playoff hockey in Seattle for the first time tonight, 9:00 over on TBS. That should be pretty exciting. I would imagine they're going to be pretty ramped up and ready to go. Which of those two are your favorite to come out of that series?
Jared,
which one?
First?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to bet against Colorado.
Yeah.
But looking at the way that the games have shaken out so far, I mean, Seattle surprised me.
Yeah.
I mean, they've just kind of come out of the gun and really made some noise and shown that, hey, we're gonna be here, we're here, we're gonna compete.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't think the Avs can go back to back this year, and I could see them. I mean, they've struggled coming down the stretch. I believe they're without Landeskog, the Avs. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see Seattle take the next two at home. I mean, at Climate Pledge Arena in Seattle, the fans are going to be crazy. The first playoff games ever for that franchise at home. Yeah, I mean, give me Seattle, man. Like,
yeah.
I think that they can pull it out.
Brandon?
So I have a little different perspective with this series. Yes, because in game one, Seattle came out and they were playing really, really good. They played good enough. They beat Colorado. However, in the second game, as we all know, we've seen these veteran teams like Colorado, like Boston, Florida, Oilers, or Edmonton, LA. They all have that different level of play once the playoffs start. And you saw that come out of Colorado in the second period of last night's game. Or not last night's game, but Thursday night's game.
Yeah.
Or Friday night's. God.
Thursday. Thursday night.
Their level of play just went from, it looked like they were on their heels for most part of the first period on Thursday night's game. And from there on, I guess they had a pep talk or something in the locker room during intermission, because the way they came out in the second period, they just were, well, more the second and the third period, they were coming back at Seattle just relentlessly. And I feel like, yeah, I could see Seattle possibly coming out and taking maybe one game or two games at home. But I feel like with how Colorado's escalated play is, I think that Colorado could easily take this series over and just go through Seattle like they're nothing. That's my opinion of it.
Yeah, I think Seattle's stingy. I like Seattle. I mean, they're kind of my, I wouldn't say absolute favorites to come out of, dark horse to come out of the West. I think Seattle has that capability to do that, and you having to play, in the Pacific Division with Edmonton and LA, outside of San Jose and Anaheim. That division's not awful either.
Yeah.
You got Calgary, Calgary there too. Vancouver's, one of those hit and miss teams as well. I mean, I could see Seattle making a nice little run, kind of like Vegas did a couple of years ago. To get to the Stanley Cup Finals. What about the gosh dang, what's about Minnesota and Dallas? Brandon, you already had your thoughts on. You think Minnesota's, I guess, your dark horse for that one?
Because Gustafsson, he played really well throughout the regular season. You saw him play really good throughout the first. I think they have Fleury in on one of the games, but the other two games they've had Gustafsson in, and Gustafsson has been playing very well for at least the game that I watched the other day. And Minnesota seems like they're a team that's coming together really well right now. And even though Dallas has been trucking along the entire season, just like a lot of these other teams have been, like Winnipeg and Boston and Vegas towards the beginning of the season. But I feel like with the momentum that Minnesota has, I feel like they're going to take this series.
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of teams, Dallas struggled down the stretch. And Minnesota kind of came on right at the right time. They got hot right at the right time. So, I mean, I have a feeling this series is going to Minnesota. I don't really have any other thoughts other than that, other than this has been a very physical series. I mean, lots of chaos. Yeah. Chaos again. We saw it in game one. Joe Pavelski getting his bell rung, but yeah,
a clean hit, by the way.
I thought so too. I thought so too.
It was a clean hit.
Yeah.
I mean, title this the Clean Hit Podcast because that was a clean hit. Puck might have been gone for just a second too long, but I thought it was. I thought it was a clean hit. I mean, it's the playoffs. You got to be able to take a hit, and it's going to be physical. I mean, sorry, I got this Vegas Winnipeg game going on right now in the bottom.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep an eye on it too, and it's back and forth.
Yep.
Yeah.
About 30 seconds left in the first overtime.
Yeah.
Yep. And I see that the Tampa Bay and Toronto, the puck dropped there. It's 1-1 already.
Jesus.
Yeah. We got 12:49 left in the first, and it's 1-1. Down in Tampa Bay. So let's keep, I guess, trucking a little bit with the Western Conference and get through these final two. So you have a rematch of last year's series between Edmonton and LA. I think it's a different LA team than it was last year. I think they have an absolute 100% chance of knocking Edmonton out in the first round. Absolutely do. They're very tough. They're a very tough team. Compared to some of the other ones, they don't have a lot of those big names necessarily, like like Edmonton and Colorado do. But I think they could be another team that finds their way to the Western Conference Final. Any thoughts on Edmonton and LA?
Yeah,
it's a hard series.
It's that thing with, anytime you have Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid and all the other guys that they have on that team, Evander Kane, like they have a chance. They could go out and pop 8 goals in a game
that quick,
and it's just, can goaltending stand up for them? And then you talk about LA not having guys. They still have Drew Doughty, Anze Kopitar. They still have guys that have been there, been through it all, and experienced what it takes to win. We're talking about two guys that have multiple cups.
Right.
So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if LA knocked them out. I do think this is a different team, but we got to remember last year went to 7.
Right.
So these teams last year weren't that far off matchup wise, but now it seems like LA's even a little bit better than they were last year. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if they won this series at all.
Brandon?
Yeah. Whenever we started this show, and even beforehand, I was looking at this series and going, it is such a question mark again, because I mean, as you saw last year at the playoff time, granted, I know LA doesn't have as many pieces that they did last year at this time, but still, they've been playing really good throughout all the regular season for the most part. They had their ups and downs, just like any team would. But during the playoffs, I mean, they're already up 2-1 on Edmonton, but I mean, that could change tomorrow. I mean, they're in, if I'm correct, they're in LA tomorrow.
They're in LA tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, things could change. Things could go 3-1. They could go 2-2. Edmonton and LA, I feel like in this series, they're going to be a pretty well matched.
Yeah.
It's going to be a well matched series. This series will probably be the one that probably goes. Don't get me wrong. There's probably going to be a lot of series that probably go 6 or 7 games, but I feel like this is definitely one of the ones that's going to go 6 or 7 games. Just how, if you match up the two teams, I feel like they're one of the more even matchups in this first round.
Yeah, I would say across the, outside of maybe Tampa Bay and Toronto, I think that, that's probably the most even match that we're gonna, possibly see. Outside of, really Toronto and Tampa Bay are the only ones that you can kind of compare to LA and Edmonton. The last one, which it ends going second overtime. Now still tied 4-4 is the Golden Knights and the Jets. Now the Jets, when we talked earlier in the year with was it Tom? We were talking about like those kind of teams. I think one of us mentioned that the Jets, and I picked Dallas to be that kind of surprise team for the Central Division. Somebody picked the Jets. I don't remember who, but they're surprisingly, they're surprisingly good.
Yeah, I mean, we got to remember that I think it was around Christmas time. The Jets were still in first place in the Central. Right. So I mean, they fell off. They've dealt with the injury bug, but who hasn't during this season?
Yeah.
And I mean, for the Jets, though, I mean, they bring in a guy that's been there and done that. I mean, a guy like Nino Niederreiter. I mean, he's been in a lot of playoff series. A lot of people in Winnipeg will remember he's the one that knocked him out when he played for Minnesota,
right?
And with that overtime snipe. Yeah. I mean, I like Winnipeg. Yeah. I think that they play the right way. And honestly, I just don't want to see. I don't want to see Vegas go any further.
Right.
I just don't.
I don't think anybody does at this point. I think they're tired of Vegas.
You complain about teams circumventing the cap, and then you go out and do it yourself every year. Like, get out of here with that. Like that.
Yeah, the whole Mark Stone thing. Hey, it's the first day of the playoffs. Let's go ahead and activate them. Like, okay.
Yeah. But every team, a lot of teams are doing it now. So.
Right. Yeah.
I thought Colorado was going to be one of those teams whenever Landeskog wasn't going to be coming back, but then they announced that he wasn't going to be coming back at all this season, which kind of scares me a little bit for Landeskog. But back on track with this, the Winnipeg and Vegas, I could easily see, it might have been me earlier in the season whenever we had that conversation with Tom that said Winnipeg, but Winnipeg could be a team that kind of surprises this series and actually takes it from Vegas. I would not be surprised if they do. I kind of have Vegas going past Winnipeg in my brackets, but other than that, I mean, you got Connor, you got Wheeler, you got Morrissey, you got all these guys that are all really big contributors on Winnipeg, and they've been showing it time and time again throughout the late part of the season and even in the first couple games of this first round. Vegas, I mean, today they've been all over the place, even in the whatever game they lost, the two games.
I think it was game 1.
Yeah.
So I mean, the two games that they've lost. Well, I shouldn't say that. They're playing game 3 right now. The first game that they lost, and even in this game, they're kind of all over the place a little bit. They're not really keeping to their zones whenever Winnipeg's getting into their cycle, and it just seems to me like they get to where they need to be here and there, but I don't know if Vegas is going to have the stuff in order to get past Winnipeg. If they can get this game and even the series out, then it wouldn't really be even. It would be 2-1. But I think if they can take this game, I think Vegas could have a shot. But if they go down in this series after this game, then I think it would be Winnipeg's to win.
Yeah.
I think whoever wins this game wins the series. Going multiple overtimes. Anytime you win a game that goes multiple overtimes, it takes a lot out of that other team's sails. So, and I don't know. You got. I think we were talking about it before we went live. I mean, you've got Jonathan Quick in Vegas as the backing up Brossoit, and on the other end you got Connor Hellebuyck, right? I mean, that he's still Connor Hellebuyck is I would put him in one of the top tiers of goalies in this league. So
easily,
but
of course,
like I wouldn't say that about Brossoit. I mean, Brossoit was on the Jets and left town.
Yeah,
because he couldn't start over Hellebuyck. So I mean, I think goaltending is eventually gonna win this series. Whoever can get a goalie that gets hot down the stretch, and I think that'll be Winnipeg.
Do we think that the Golden Knights will go to Jonathan Quick after today if they don't win?
So.
I don't know. I think they give Brossoit one more game, but I think if he falters at all and gives up 3 or 4 goals again, but like Brandon was saying, I mean, you probably have to go to him after this game because if you lose this game and then lose another game, then you're down 3-1, and it's hard to dig out of that hole.
Yeah, especially playing in Winnipeg. I mean,
tough environment.
It's a very tough environment. I think they were doing their annual whiteout game today.
Yep, they are,
which is a freaking scary thing even to watch on TV. You know, the first time I seen it when the Blues went to Winnipeg, and they were like, everybody's wearing white. It's like, this is actually, like, even sitting here watching it at home, it's like, that's someplace I don't want to play.
Oh, it's a madhouse. Even if you look outside of the arena, everybody is still in white. Everyone. And it's Winnipeg during the playoffs is not the same Winnipeg during the regular season.
No.
Just in the fan aspect of it all, that arena gets loud. And we're seeing it here in this series, and it's crazy.
While we were talking about that, Toronto scored another goal. It's 2-1. 2-1 Maple Leafs over the Lightning as we talk. So let's jump over. Do you have something else you want to add to that, Jared?
Oh, no.
Okay. Let's jump over to the Eastern Conference for a little bit, and then we'll talk about some favorites and see where we're at. Maybe the Jets Golden Knights game will be over by then, but probably not. Let's be honest. We'll see. Let's go ahead and start with the Devils Rangers. You know, as a team that I think going into the Stanley Cup playoffs is the New York Rangers. Very not surprising that they're up 2-0 with the power that they have, the star power, that they have. I mean, they could, you know, I feel like they're just as good as Toronto, as Boston, as Carolina, as, you know, in Tampa Bay too, when it comes to scoring, like how quick they can rattle off some goals. The Rangers are already up 2-0 in this series, with both games, you know, the next 2 games being in New York too. So which one? I mean, it's, in my opinion, I think New York could sweep these guys. I think New York can take the Devils out in New York on Tuesday.
Yeah. I mean, I saw it firsthand last year as a Canes fan. I mean, when the Rangers get hot, they're good. They're very good. Shesterkin, when he gets hot, when he gets going, he goes on these like streaks of just being an absolute menace in the crease. And yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of what's happening now. He's stifling the high octane Devils offense. And like I said earlier, I don't think the Devils can get to those dirty areas where they need to score because they don't have the size that some of these guys with New York have. And I mean, New York, once again, as I said earlier, we saw it. I'm talking from experience as a Hurricanes fan. When we played them last year, what we would have won that series had we could have figured it out on the penalty kill, or we would have been better in special teams. If you don't take penalties against the Rangers, they're a beatable team.
Yeah,
they're very one dimensional when it comes to how they play, but when they get on the power play, they have so many weapons. And Zibanejad, Kane, Fox, Tarasenko, Kreider, all these guys that can just keep coming. Mm-hmm. And when you give them a power play, when you're the other team, you almost feel like it's an automatic goal. Like you just do. It's really weird when you're playing them to feel like you get out of a penalty, but yeah, I don't think the Devils can come back. Maybe they win one or two, but I don't think they can win the series at this point. So yeah, I'd say the Rangers are going to win this one.
I was trying to find the how many penalties that the Devils have taken, and then the 2 games so far. There's 71 penalty minutes so far for the Devils, and the Rangers are right there at 65. So.
It's been a back and forth kind of series for penalties for both sides.
But like you're saying, the Jared was saying, the big reason that they're up 2-0 is because the Devils have 71 minutes in power play time to the Rangers. That's too much for a team like that.
I'll just say this: the NHL loves when the Rangers go deep. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, they love it when a New York team does.
Or any
when a New York team does,
or any metropolitan team for that matter.
Are you talking about Pittsburgh and Washington?
Yeah,
they aren't in the metropolitan. Yeah, they are.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, they are.
The Metro is deep.
Metro is. It is.
Metro sucks to play in. I guarantee. I'm telling you all that. It's a gauntlet every year.
Oh God, yes. I mean, you got Boston. You got.
No, that's the Atlantic.
That's Atlantic.
But you got Carolina, New York, Rangers, Islanders, Devils.
Oh yeah,
I said Washington. You got Pittsburgh. Philly can be good. I mean, I think they're going to turn it around in the next 2 years or so.
Yeah.
I mean, Columbus is
Columbus.
I mean, they've had good seasons in the past couple years.
Yeah.
I mean, usually we're seeing 5 teams coming out of the Metro over the last 3 or 4 years. I think it's been like 5 teams out of the Metro, then the 3 out of the Atlantic.
Yeah.
And each year, I mean, this year the Canes were the second best team in the league, and then the Devils were the third best team.
Yeah.
And then the Rangers, I think you had 3 teams in like the top 6 or 7
which is crazy
out of the Metro. And it was a gauntlet the whole way down the stretch.
Yeah. That's insane. Let's you got Brian, did you have anything?
For the New York and New Jersey series, I mean, we kind of touched on it a little bit earlier before we were going through each of the divisions. I feel like New Jersey could possibly come out and maybe win a game or 2, but I'm kind of along the same lines as what you're saying. After seeing the last 2 games in this series in New Jersey and New York come out like they did against them and still win, and now they're coming to New York for 2 games or 2 or 3 games, it's gonna be hard for New Jersey, I think, to come out and actually win this series, especially with like what you're saying, Jared. You got Fox, you got Zibanejad, Kreider, Tarasenko. I mean, the list
goes on and on.
The list of players can go on and on.
Yeah.
I mean, especially when you have a goaltender like Shesterkin in the back of your line, it's going to be hard for a team like New Jersey, who is predominantly young. I mean, you have Timo Meyer, who's like in the mid-20s or so, but you also have
I don't know what's going on.
You have Hughes and some of the other guys that New Jersey has, but I don't think with the lines that New York has, New Jersey's going to really be able to pull it through. I thought they would have been able to, but after seeing how the playoffs started, I'm kind of switched on this series.
Yeah. Let's talk about the game that's occurring right now at the 2-1 Maple Leafs lead. This has just been it seems like an every year occurrence that you can almost bet that the Maple Leafs and Lightning are going to face each other in the first round, which I'm sure both these fan bases are just tired of each other. I would imagine at this point. Which one's a favorite here for you guys?
I don't know. I think I picked Toronto. I picked Toronto to win the series. I just did. I think that Tampa, I mean, they've been at it the last basically 5 years, going to the conference championship game or conference championship series every year for the last like 3 or 4 years. Plus playing in they went back to back Stanley Cups. I mean it's got to be tough. Mm-hmm. And Toronto, I'm like, here was my prediction when I filled out my bracket. I said Toronto won this series and then took out Boston. Is the game over? No, close.
Sorry to kind of cut in, but Vegas is going on power play, and it was like that close from going in the net, and they were able to stop it. But yeah, sorry, go on.
I'm watching it now. I didn't have it on my phone yet, but I mean, I think I had Toronto beating Tampa, and then Toronto also taking out Boston and actually making it to the conference finals. I think if they can get out of this first round, I think that they can go deep. They got the skill, they got the size. They got a decent goalie. I mean, but they're still not the best in that regards. But I mean, I like Toronto here. I think if they can win,
is it Murray?
I thought it was Samsonov.
Yeah, it is Samsonov. Now that you say that, it is Samsonov. I couldn't remember who was the goaltender.
I mean, he's no Vasilevsky, but if they can get past Vasilevsky, and I mean, Hedman has been hurt. I think he's playing tonight, but
he is. He just got a hooking penalty, or Tavares just got a hooking penalty on Hedman.
Okay, so but Hedman, has been playing hurt, but they thought he might not even play tonight.
He was questionable. I think it was a game time decision today.
Yeah, so the Lightning are very banged up. Mm-hmm. As a team that has gone deep the last 4 or 5 years, they're very banged up. They're exhausted. It's time for their reign to end. So sorry about it, Tampa. I don't see you going past this round.
Yeah, I agree. I think Toronto has too much experience, and just that, like, obviously if they don't make it out of the first round, the Toronto Maple Leafs won't be the same Toronto Maple Leafs next year.
Kyle Dubas better be filling out his resume.
Yeah, and a lot of other players too. Anybody else.
If Toronto doesn't make it out of the first round, because I believe this player is coming up on contract or is probably going to be looking for a trade, will be Matthews. Will be wanting to get out of Toronto if they can't get out of the first round again this year.
He's going to Phoenix. We know that. I'm just kidding. He's not going to Phoenix.
I was going to say, I don't think that's going to be the case.
Could you imagine if they gave Phoenix like Bedard, and then Matthews got traded there, and they're still playing in a college hockey stadium?
That's a whole freaking different subject too. That it still blows my mind that they're playing in something like that, and
I
that
was gonna say,
there is no clear line whatsoever of them getting a new arena anytime soon.
that could probably be a whole episode of talking about the whole situation going
Vegas
on
wins
in Arizona.
Vegas
Game's
won.
over. Vegas won.
Yep.
Power play goal.
5-4.
Just after the power play ended.
Oh, that's even worse.
Get your fifth guy back and then lose in overtime. Or
yeah. Oh, that sucks.
Does suck, man. Oh well. What do we have left? We have Canes and Islanders. Canes and Islanders. This is a very interesting series, I guess it should say. One that I wouldn't necessarily say that the Canes should take, because they should. I mean, they should. They shouldn't have any issues with the Islanders, right?
But just imagine I know Jared's not going to like this, but just imagine the Islanders come out and take this series against Carolina. Just imagine it.
I'm done. Let's talk about my team like that.
No, it's. I mean, sorry, why can I not think of the goalie's name?
For that
Sorokin.
Yeah.
I'm thinking too many S's going on in the goalie's name.
There's a lot of them
in New York. Shesterkin, Sorokin. Yeah. I mean, Sorokin. He's played lights out. This has been. It's not a fun series. It's not a fun. Yeah. I'm not liking it. I'm not enjoying it. Way too close of a series for me. That's why tomorrow during the game, I'm not going to be watching it. I've decided to go play some golf, get my mind off of it. But no, it's one of those things that last year, the Boston series shouldn't have been as tough as it was. It goes 7 games.
Mm-hmm.
I saw it was something like the Hurricanes haven't won on the road in the playoffs since like June 3rd, 2021. And it's like everybody keeps talking about in the grand scheme of things, that's only 2 years ago.
Right.
But they haven't won on the road in the playoffs in almost 2 years.
Yeah.
So I think they win tomorrow. I just do. I think the Hurricanes are more talented than the Islanders. They just are. But these are two very defensive-minded teams, and you need kind of those lucky bounces to go your way. We saw it in Game 2 for the Hurricanes when Sebastian Aho of the Islanders variety hit the puck out of the air, bounced. Sorokin wasn't paying much attention, bounced right through his legs or right around his legs into the goal. Canes take a lead. I mean, that we're seeing that. We're seeing special teams, I mean, is key. The Hurricanes have one of the best penalty kills. Neither team has a good power play. I mean, the power plays, I mean, there's been a lot of power play goals for two teams that suck on the power play.
Right.
But, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't see the Islanders doing it. I believe in this Hurricanes team. Also, Caniac Nation. I mean, we talk about Winnipeg. I went to two playoff games last year. Went to Game 7 against Boston, Game 6 against the Rangers, and it sounded like I was standing next to a jet the whole game.
Yeah.
It is there's a reason they call it the loudest house in the NHL. I mean, you have 11,000 seats in the lower bowl, low ceiling.
Crap.
Yeah, they've got the largest lower bowl in the United States. A lot of people don't realize that. There's 19,000 people packed in there, but 11,000 of them are right next to the ice.
God damn.
And
I didn't realize there was that many.
And so it just, that sound comes up, hits the ceiling, and comes back down. So that's why home ice advantage is a real thing in Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And so as long as they can keep that, I think they'll be fine. I think they would be fine against New York. They've shown that they can play New York well.
Yeah.
New York, the Rangers are the team is honestly the team I didn't want to play at all in the playoffs. But it looks like if the Hurricanes make it through this round, they're going to have to.
Yeah.
And I mean, every year they've kind of taken out a team that has had their number in the playoffs. could this year be the year that they take out the Rangers if they get to that second round to make the conference finals? I don't know. But also the Hurricanes are, Teuvo Teravainen just broke his hand earlier this week.
Yep.
Game 2 broke his hand.
That's a tough loss too.
You're without Andrei Svechnikov. You're without Pacioretty. You're without these guys, and the Hurricanes are still the second best team in the league based on the regular season.
Right.
So I don't know. I think if they can figure out the scoring, they'll be all right. If they can get Necas, Kakiniemi going, so to add some depth to Sebastian Aho, they'll be fine. So, and then a lot of people don't know this. The Hurricanes have the highest scoring defenseman in the league. Their defensive core is the highest scoring defensive core in the league. Right. So they got to get those guys going. Burns, I believe, has 4 assists and maybe a goal right now. I don't have the numbers right in front of me. I think he has at least 4 assists right now in the playoffs. Get him, Shea, and Pesci going, and they'll be fine. And yeah, Sorokin's lights out. So
yeah.
Okay. Brandon?
Martin Necas, is that how you say his last name?
Necas, yeah.
Necas. I thought he's been playing pretty well throughout most of the season and even into the first couple games of the series. Aho, he's been looking good. But at the same point, you got Nelson on the other side, and who else is
Barzal? Horvat.
These are 2 teams that I don't really follow all that much, and I've just periodically seen them play throughout the season. But I don't really have a whole lot to really kind of go over with this series, just because I haven't really followed these 2 teams as much as I probably should have. But I feel like if Carolina can keep their stuff up, I feel like they could probably take the series. I'm hopeful. I could see the Islanders possibly, but I feel like it's more Carolina's to win.
I just don't think we've seen it. I don't think that the Islanders have the skill to keep up with the Canes right now. I just don't. But the Canes, as I said about the Devils, sometimes have trouble finding those dirty areas in front of the net. Mm-hmm. The Hurricanes play a very they're a very interesting team to watch. If you watch them long enough, you'll see that they play man-to-man instead of a zone defense. Mm-hmm. And so kind of like in basketball, each guy has their own guy.
Right.
And teams will try to get them to switch off, but they won't. You'll see defensemen pinch. You'll see the forwards drop back and play defense. It's really interesting to see, but they take a lot of shots from the point. And I don't think that really is great for them. They got, especially if you don't have that net front presence. Excuse me. So yeah, that's if the Hurricanes are going to win, they got to figure that out. And Steph Nason has been doing a decent job at it, but you got to get bigger guys like Kokoniemi, Stahl out front if they want to win.
Yeah. The last and final series that we'll talk about is the team that just seems to be on a absolute revenge tour for some reason.
The juggernauts of this season.
Was it 60? Where they finished with 63 or 64 wins?
I think 65.
65. I know they broke the NHL record.
Yeah,
for most wins.
Was it 65?
It was a lot.
It was a lot. Too many.
Yeah.
It was. I'm looking it up.
I know they got 64.
Yeah, 65 wins, 12 losses, and 5 overtime losses.
That's crazy. So you're looking at a team that won 65 games, lost 17, taking on the Florida Panthers. That other team is the Boston Bruins, who, like I said, for some reason are just on a revenge tour right now, even though the series is tied 1-1. 2 games in Boston have been pretty well matched, I would say. They've been pretty fun to watch. A lot of back and forth battles between the two teams right now. Out of the two teams, Boston and Florida, for me, I'm still going to pick Boston. I think Boston is just too good of a team for Florida to continue to handle. Even though Florida isn't necessarily that bad either. I mean, they were the one seed in. They were the one seed in the Eastern Conference, right? They were President's Trophy last year.
Yeah, they won
right?
the President's Trophy last year.
Right. So they're still a fairly decent team, besides losing Huberdeau to Calgary.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on this series so far, or with this one? I guess.
So for this series, I feel like if Boston comes out and has a game like they did in Game 2, like where they're just on their heels and not really seem like they're really in it, I feel like Florida could probably come back and probably even out the series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's my bad. I misspoke. It's 2-1 Boston. 2-1 Boston.
Yep. But I just feel like after the regular season and how well they played, Boston has never. Well, then again, they haven't really lost that many games at all. They've only lost 17 games out of the season, 5 of which were in overtime. But they respond to losses very well, as you could see from Game 3. They came out and won against Florida, and I feel like this is Boston's series to pretty much do whatever they want with, because I don't think Florida, with all of the tools and all of the everything that Boston has. I mean, Olmark has been playing like none other this season, and even in the playoffs, even their top guys, Pasta, Bergeron, Marchand, Coyle, Charlie Coyle. They've all been playing lights out, and I feel like if Florida, even once they have a chance, they're going to have to look at Verhaeghe. They're going to have to look at Tkachuk. A lot of their veteran guys to really pull this shit together for them, and for Florida even to have a chance to take down Boston.
Yeah. I mean, Boston's good, and
Boston's good.
Make it a quote. Boston's good. I mean, they're very good. What I do want to say is, if Tkachuk can get it going, I do like Florida. I don't think they would win, but I do like them at least making it a series, right? Yeah. I could see this series going 5 or 6 games. Well, it's at least going 5, but I could see it going at least 6. I think Florida might. I think Florida might get a chance to win it tomorrow night. I think they'll probably win tomorrow night. Send it back to Boston, tied 2-2. Boston wins in at home 3-2, and then Boston finishes them off in Game 6 in Florida. That's my opinion. To be honest, they're the team I want to play in the Eastern Conference Finals. Yeah. I want to, if the Canes get there, I want to play them. Hurricanes play the Bruins good. We saw it last year in round 1. Hurricanes edging them, and then the Canes went 1-0-2 against the Bruins this year. So of course I like our chances. Right. I mean, with a loss in OT and a loss in a shootout, I mean, I feel like that's like a 1-1-1 almost.
Yeah, you gotta those are good chances. I mean, playing a team like Boston and to have that kind of record against
the
them.
Game that you beat them in, that was the only game that wasn't close. It was 4-0 pretty much the whole game, and Boston got a late goal. So I mean, yeah, I like the way we play them. Give me them. Give me them. Yeah. I'd love that. But
I want Boston now.
I think Boston's. I mean, I think they're a good, very good team, and I think that they're gonna go through Florida. But I think Florida at least makes it a series and gets it to 6 games at least.
Yeah, I would agree. I think As much as I would say Florida, is going to get it to 7 and they might pull off, but we always, you always hear about the President's Trophy curse, for the most part. And it happened to Florida last year. I think the only team to win one lately was
it Chicago?
Chicago. Yeah,
I
was
think
it the
it was
last team to do it?
Chicago.
In like 2012,
11?
Was it 10 or 12? 11?
I can't remember because it was like LA, Chicago were like back to kept winning on back to back.
Boom, boom, boom.
Like one team would win in the even number years, one would win in the odd number years. So whatever
Trust
it was.
me, we hated it. We hated it because we always had to face at least one of them in the first round.
Yeah, nobody liked them.
It had to have been that far back because I don't think Tampa didn't do it.
Tampa lost to got swept by Columbus.
Yeah, and
it was the 2012-2013 Blackhawks.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's been 10 years basically since we've seen a President's Trophy team.
But if you
win
look
a Stanley
at it,
Cup.
If you look at it, a lot of the times the team that wins the President's Cup usually wins the cup the next year. So there, I can't remember where I saw it, but it was like it showed a lot of teams winning the President's Trophy, having the President's Trophy curse, and then winning it the next year. Colorado did it. Colorado won the President's Trophy 2 years ago, won the cup. Tampa won the President's Trophy, got swept, won the cup back to back the next 2 years.
That's very interesting. I did not know that stat.
Yeah,
Florida fans, I'm sorry, that's probably not going to happen.
But Boston is without Patrice Bergeron. I mean, they're without him. He didn't even travel to Florida. Look, I don't think it's looking good for him to even come back this series. He's practicing by himself, but I just don't see him coming back the rest of the year.
And speaking of injured guys, has there been any update? I know we're kind of going back a few series since we talked about it last, but has anybody had an update, or has there been any updates on Pavelski?
I haven't seen anything on Pavelski.
Him and I mean, we talked about Morrissey earlier. He left the game in Winnipeg.
Yeah,
I believe in like the second period. So lots of injuries right now. I know for my team,
a lot of key guys for certain teams.
Yeah. I mean, Teuvo Teravainen broke his hand on a non-call slashing, two-handed tomahawk chop down on his hands and broke his hand. He's out the rest of the series. So hopefully he'll be back next series. But
Joe Pavelski he's ruled out for tomorrow's game with a concussion.
He probably won't see much of the playoffs.
Yeah.
The way he went off the ice that night, he could barely keep himself upright. He had to have two people carry him pretty much off the ice.
Right. Yeah.
So
it was kind of jumping ahead of, not ahead of things, because we should wrap things up here in a few. I have one more thing though I want to ask you guys before we head out. But yeah, that hit on Pavelski, as soon as I saw it the next morning, I was like, it was a clean hit. He hit his head off the ice when he got taken off his feet. I don't think there might have been some head contact, but I don't necessarily think there was that was the intention of
it was all shoulder to
shoulder.
Shoulder. He didn't really hit his head until he came down and hit his head on the ice, and then his stick hit him on the head as well.
Yeah. The last thing that I want to talk about really quick is what, just to kind of add a little spice here. What is the Stanley Cup Finals matchup that you want to see the most? Like, non-biased, what matchup what matchup do you want to see the most?
I mean, how are you going to ask me to?
I know.
When I want to see most and not be biased.
Biased and non-biased. Biased, okay. Non-biased. There we go.
Brandon, I'll let you go first.
Non-biased, I could see
your favorite one that you want to see.
I said it on my show with Josh Edwards, and I'm going to keep to it. I'm going to say New York, and if they can get out of the series, Vegas.
Okay.
And I don't really have any bias. My bias is already out of the playoffs, so.
We were out a long time ago.
Is that Sabres or is that Blues?
Blues.
Okay, I was about to say you haven't had a bias in 12 years.
Oh wow!
Suck it, Sabres fans.
God, too bad you don't have
how far did Carolina make it last year?
Second round.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I
think the Blues made it about the same. Blues made it about the
second
same.
round.
We got lucky.
Last year.
We got lucky last year. Should have made it out of the first round.
I'm trying to think. The year before, second round. Then, because we lost to Boston, then eliminated Boston in the first round. Year before that, I think we made it to the second round then. And then the year before that, we made it to the conference finals where we lost to Boston that time. But, I mean, either way, I think it's possible. I don't really think it's like that biased. I do think the Hurricanes can make a run. They just got to figure a few things out on their scoring. I think they have the best defense in the playoffs right now. So I would say if I'm just an outside fan, not a Hurricanes fan, and I was saying this is what I want to see. I mean, as the league, they probably want to see somebody like Toronto. I would say probably
Seattle.
Toronto. give me Toronto, Minnesota.
Yeah, that'd be a fun one.
I mean, that or Toronto, Winnipeg. I think that's what I think the league would like to see that. Two very passionate hockey fan bases. I mean, Toronto
Both
fans
Canadian.
don't show up till about halfway through the first period, but
yeah,
and
they haven't even started showing. They're still showing highlights from Vegas and Winnipeg. They haven't even started showing the Toronto game yet.
Isn't that?
I've clicked on them trying to get it, but it won't let me.
Is it not on the? Are they not on ESPN tonight?
TBS.
TBS.
Dang. Yeah. But if I was like, I would like to see the Hurricanes make it that far.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Give me Hurricanes. Give me a rematch of 06 Hurricanes, Edmonton, and yeah, Hurricanes win that one too because the Hurricanes played very well against McDavid. Yeah. Just saying it. Look up the numbers.
Yeah, I believe you. I don't think Edmonton.
I don't think they get there.
I don't think they get there either. I think personally they get bounced by LA, but that's just my opinion.
So what are yours? What's your
mine? What my favorite one is to be honest, I want to see Seattle. I want to see Seattle and Toronto. I think that would be a great Stanley Cup Finals match. You're looking at the newest team versus one of the oldest, teams that have been in the, part of the NHL. I think that would be a very fun matchup. You got a very experienced team in Toronto, who is looking to bring a Stanley Cup to Canada for the first time in
28 years.
Yeah, long time.
30, something like 30 years.
How long had they had the first round curse?
Since 2004.
Yeah.
God damn.
Could you imagine that? I mean, I'm not saying that, but the Blues had that up until this last recent stretch of 3-4 years. Other than that, for the most part,
it's been since 13 or 14 that we haven't really made the playoffs.
No. I'm just talking about first round exits, not having a first round exit. I would like to see Seattle in Toronto. I think that'd be a fun one. The other one I wouldn't mind seeing is you brought it up is actually a rematch of, was it 13 with the Rangers and Kings? I don't remember if it was 13 or if it was 15.
That was 13.
Was it 13? It was one of the years.
Well, no, that was 2014 because we talked earlier. 2013 was the
13 was
Blackhawks.
Was the Blackhawks who won the President's Trophy that year?
Yeah, because the thing I remember with this Alex Martinez, bounce pass off of or not bounce pass, but ricochet off of Hendrik Lundqvist's pad to the back of the net.
Wasn't that the year
win the cup?
LA won?
Yeah. It was probably the greatest. I mean, I'm not gonna say okay. Yeah, it was probably the greatest clinching, Stanley Cup Finals clinching game ever. in my opinion. To win it on something like that. That's just two matchups that I would love to see, that I would love to see happen. I think it'd be interesting.
Yep,
for sure.
Yeah. Seattle. I'm telling you, I think Seattle's gonna pull it off against Colorado. Sorry, Jimmy, but I think Seattle is gonna surprise some people.
I could see Seattle getting out of the first round, but meeting either Dallas or Minnesota, I don't think they'll take.
I don't think either of those two teams are a match for Seattle.
You don't think so?
No, I really don't.
Ooh.
I think Seattle's good.
They're good.
They were first in the Pacific for a while too. At the beginning, up till what December?
At the beginning,
All-Star break, basically.
Yeah.
Beginning and mid, okay, but other than that, Seattle, I think, will be a first or second round exit.
Yeah,
I think they'll figure it out next year, though.
I don't think they'll make to the conference finals. If they do, even then, if you get to the conference finals, then you'll either be matching up with LA, Winnipeg, or Vegas. Sorry, Oilers, you're not making it out of LA.
Yeah.
Everybody said the same thing about Vegas a couple years ago, though, too, that they weren't going to get out of the first round, and they ended up going toe to toe with Ovechkin and the Capitals.
But the thing with Vegas is they were the second best team in the league that year.
That's true. They were good.
And then that wasn't the case for Seattle.
Yeah.
They're a wild card team. They're not one of the high powers of the NHL, mainly because the NHL changed the way that they do the expansion draft.
Yeah.
And Ron Francis got screwed. But yeah, I think I could see Seattle, like I said earlier, getting past Colorado. I don't think they go that deep this year. I think they could go deep next year.
That's what I was about to say.
Like I think once
they get years of experience.
Yep, exactly. I think that they'll be all right. I don't know. I do think that it's probably going to be one of LA or Vegas.
Yeah.
That make the cup finals for the West. And then I think it could pretty much be anybody except for the Devils right now out of the East.
Right. Yeah. I don't, you're not wrong there. Not wrong at all. The East is, the Eastern Conference is a monster. Yeah.
Okay, last couple of years.
Last 2-3 years, it's probably been. This year is probably the highest I think it's been. That's just coming from a Western Conference guy.
It's like what 4 of the top 5 teams are from the East.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's insane.
That is. It really is. It's not even the fact that most of those teams loaded up during the trade deadline too. How many of those teams?
Look,
grab people from the West.
I'm blocked by so many people in Kane's Twitter right now because I was so upset with our.
You should be
with our trade deadline.
Yeah.
As a Hurricanes fan, I'm sorry. I want this team to go out and get somebody that is not a super. He doesn't have to be a superstar.
Right.
We're seeing Timo Meier isn't doing anything for the Devils right now.
Yeah.
He hasn't done anything since he got there. But you look at the team that eliminated you last year, and the New York Rangers getting Tarasenko, getting Kane. Who else? They got
somebody else too, didn't they?
They got somebody else in the Blues trade.
Oh yeah, Mikkola.
Yeah,
Mikkola.
Nico Mikkola. Which he's turned out to be some fantastic defenseman now. All of a sudden, it's like the hell.
Yeah, but see,
I wanted to keep him. I could see it coming out of Mikkola before he even left the Blues. I didn't want to see Mikkola go.
You see these teams going and making these big moves. Everybody around the Hurricanes got better at the trade deadline.
Yep.
You lose Max Pacioretty, a guy that was supposed to be your trade deadline acquisition when he came back, plays 6 games, re-tears his Achilles.
Yeah.
Right? Then 2 weeks after the trade deadline, Andrei Svechnikov tears his ACL.
Right.
It's like, okay, this is why we should have loaded up. We needed somebody just in case this happened. Our top 6 is good.
Yeah.
We needed somebody to take care of that. A lot of people are mad at me. Hell, the main media guy for the Hurricanes has me blocked on Twitter. All because funny. I kept asking him how the culture was going to help us win in the first round.
Yeah.
Culture can get you so far. You got to have scoring.
superstars when you win the first round for you.
I mean,
depth wins it later on.
Yeah, I mean, you got to get out of the first round and then rely on some depth guys.
Yeah.
I don't know. All right, that's
all
I got.
I got you. I agree. I agree with you when seeing all the other teams around Carolina and being
we got Jesse Puljujarvi.
Yeah.
I mean, Gostabert has been pretty good. I like him.
Yeah, but
Jesse Puljujarvi.
I know when the rumor started of the Blues and Canes having the little talks with Parayko, I was like, oh, this is it. Like, we're gonna get rid of Parayko's contract. This is awesome, and it just died off.
I think the talks were around Tarasenko.
Was it around Tarasenko? Well, that's what it was. It was Tarasenko and Parayko, and for Dougie Hamilton and somebody, Dougie Hamilton, somebody else.
I think the Hurricanes and Blues had been talking.
Yeah.
On Tarasenko, this is just from what I've heard.
Mm-hmm.
The Blues and Hurricanes had been talking for probably 2 or 3 years on a Tarasenko deal, and it just can
never.
I think the Blues wanted Natchez, and the Hurricanes, we saw it last year. Natchez had a terrible year last year, and didn't do well, and then came out and was the leading scorer for the Hurricanes this year.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And I mean that's a homegrown kid, right? A guy that you draft. And then you develop. Same with Aho. I mean, same with Seth Jarvis, Jacob Slavin, Pesci. All these guys are homegrown kids.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to see it in 2 years. That's my worry. Is in 2 years these homegrown kids are going to get offered somewhere else, probably more money because the Hurricanes won't be able to re-sign all of them. So
when I was thinking Parayko and Tarasenko, it was actually the Devils, I think. With Dougie Hamilton and Jack Hughes.
That's the Devils.
Yeah. So
that would have been a terrible trade for the Devils.
Yeah. Wouldn't have been a fun one. Anyways, do you guys have any closing thoughts before we wrap things up?
I don't have anything else.
Go Canes.
Go Canes. Go Kraken.
Go Rangers.
Go Kraken. Go, no, you stop it. No. Quit. There is before there's a lot of ex-Blues players in the Stanley Cup playoffs this year, by the way. For those of you who don't know, I think almost all but was it 3 teams have a former 3 or 4 teams have a former Blues Stanley Cup champion Blues player
the Hurricanes
on their team. Hurricanes don't. Seattle, right? Yeah. Seattle
does. They have 2.
Seattle, Toronto.
I don't think Dallas does.
Maybe not.
I don't think
maybe I'm thinking too many teams. Yeah.
Because who was it? Was Jay Harrison? No. Who's the defenseman we got from y'all a couple years ago?
Oh, Joel Edmondson.
Joel Edmondson.
Yeah, Joel Edmondson.
That was a tough one too. That was a tough one to lose.
Yeah, I hated losing Falk.
Yeah.
Y'all, what's the thoughts on Falk now?
He had a really off year this year.
You think so?
Because I've always used to seeing him scoring more and doing more than what he did this season. I thought this year was a little bit of an off year for him.
I think he's just developed into a different style of player than what we saw in Carolina.
Yeah, he was kind of a firecracker in Carolina. He was one of those guys that. So in Carolina, they used to have a deal with Papa John's, Chick-fil-A, and Bojangles, which is a y'all have Bojangles,
place, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where if you score on the power play, you got a Bojangles Bowberry biscuit. If you scored, any player scored a hat trick, everybody got half off pizza. Or if the Hurricanes scored 3 goals, you got half off pizza the next day.
That's a killer deal.
And if the Hurricanes win, you get a free chicken sandwich. And
damn.
So
we just get Jack in the Box tacos if the Battlehawks win right now.
Well, Justin Falk scored a He scored a natural hat trick to win the game.
Yeah.
So they called it the fat trick because he included a power play goal. The Canes won, and they scored 3 goals.
And all 3 were him.
All 3 were him. So it was called the fat trick.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, you used to have a thing with Taco Bell before.
Taco Bell's a big sponsor of the Canes now too.
When the Blues scored 5 goals, you'd get free tacos. Like the whole area would get a free. I think it was 1 taco or something. Was it Taco Bell? Yeah, it was Taco Bell. Because they had like the little Taco Bell bells. There was 5 of them. And anytime they scored, they'd spin one around, which is why they got the whole one, and you hit like the bell at the end after a goal. That's where I think that's where that all started at. I don't think they really have anything like that anymore. I think you get.
No, the only thing that we have in St. Louis now is the one for the Battlehawks, and then if they score 5 or 6 for the Cardinals, you get like a discounted drink at Mobile on the Run.
I had that wrong. So yes, it was if you scored a power play goal, you got a blueberry biscuit.
Mm-hmm.
It's still that. I think it is at least. But also, if Justin Falk scored, you got a free side of queso or a free cup of queso at Moe's. So there was so much free food being given out after that game. But
that's awesome.
Yeah, Justin Falk.
Awesome.
He was honestly my favorite player before he got traded. And
I mean, I've liked what he's done so far. Outside of his 1 year, where he was just kind of iffy. But other than that, I was a little disappointed. No, it was Torrey Krug that we got rid of Petrangelo for
as well.
That's a whole nother story. Anyways, we'll leave it at that. I like Justin Falk though. I think he's turned into a one of the top defensemen in at least the Western Conference, maybe just the Central Division.
I think bring the other Shen brother to St. Louis.
Luke. There was talks at the trade deadline.
Mm-hmm.
There was talks, but nothing ever happened. I think O'Reilly's still coming back.
You had
team discount.
You have a GM that says he wants to go a different route, and I've gone on a tear with this so many different times. You have a GM that wants to go a different route. He wants to go a younger route. Why would you offer a guy that's 31, possibly going to be 32 years old, a multi-year contract to come back and maybe play a couple years?
If he's going to take a 3-year deal, 3-year deal, we'll give him a 2-year deal with a 1-year option for 1.4 mil or something like that. $2 mil a season.
You think he's getting that much right now?
No.
4 mil?
He's making 6.5 right now.
What is he making?
6.5.
Yeah.
And 50% of it is being carried by the Blues.
And the other 50 is Minnesota.
Gotta hate that.
No, 25.
25. Sorry. Yeah.
Gotta hate that.
It's awful. It's crazy to see where this team, the Blues have. This has turned into a Blues Canes show now. It's kind of fun. Anyways, we'll
a lot of Canes fans like the Blues. I'll tell you that. A lot of Canes fans like the Blues.
Can't hate us. We're not that awful.
I do want to see Bennington, Kochetkov go at each other.
Yeah.
I wanted Fleury and Bennington to get at it the one night that they were here.
That was the one hope I was just barely holding on to that the Blues were going to make the playoffs, is just to see a St. Louis Minnesota playoff first round matchup. Even if we got eliminated, I wouldn't have cared just to see that matchup in the first round. That would have been crazy.
This Kochetkov kid he's nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, he slashed Brad Marchand last year in the first round of the playoffs and just looked down on him. So he's got some screws loose up there too. So
yeah.
I'd love to see it.
Bennington got his money and was like, yeah, I'm going to suck again. Not really. He hasn't been awful.
I'm interested to see what Hofer does with a full season with the Blues.
Yeah, he's still going to be the backup. That's the thing.
He's going to be a backup, but you're still going to get time on the ice.
Yeah, but I don't think he's going to get time like we see just because Bennington's contract is stupid ridiculous.
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah. Anyways, I guess we'll end it now. Where it is. If you're looking to go to your first Stanley Cup playoff matchup, anywhere across, use code VSN at SeatGeek, gets you $20 off your first purchase. At SeatGeek, it's pretty solid deal, I think. Maybe not, but I think it's pretty solid.
Oh yeah, that's
one
a good
person.
Deal.
It's a good deal.
What was it? $20 off.
$20 off your first purchase. That's basically the price of the ticket. Almost. Well, I wouldn't say price of the ticket, but
not in the playoffs. But
talk about it.
hey, if you're a Canes fan listening to this, that'll buy you 2.5 Storm Brews. All right,
there you go. You don't have to pay the service charges.
Yeah, get the $20 off.
Yeah,
and take it in there and be like, all right, I want 2 Storm Brews and a bag of nachos.
Boom.
There you go.
There you go. All right, man. Well, I appreciate both of you coming on for this first edition of this, or first episode, I guess, first series, first show, whatever. Thanks for anybody who tuned in. I saw the number click a couple times, up a few. So if you tuned in, you're watching right now, thank you for watching. And hopefully we'll be able to do this again sometime this week, hopefully, at some point.
As long as I don't have a baby.
Yeah. yeah. Hopefully everything goes well with that too. And
thank you.
If it happens, we'll give you an early congratulations just in case we don't get to do this again before that happens.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Not a problem. All righty. We'll see y'all later. Thanks for watching.
See ya.